Hey all, I hope everybody are doing good and welcome back to homeschool. And I am starting with the first chapter of class 9 science for CBSE or NCRT syllabus, right? Say NCRT books are followed by CBSE as well as Karnataka State Board. So I am doing a chapter from NCRT textbook for class 9 science. Okay, so these chapters will work for both CBSE syllabus as well as Karnataka board syllabus. Clear? And for many other states also. Concepts would remain same in the chapters. Maybe the chapter headings can be different for other state boards. So anybody can watch whichever the state you belong, whatever may be the syllabus. If the concepts are syncing with your syllabus, you can definitely watch these videos and get 100% benefit out of it. So in our CBSE or NCRT syllabus, the first chapter which is there in class 9 science is matter in our surroundings. So I am talking about all the concepts about matter in our surroundings in detail. Clear? So before we start the actual topic, let us understand what is this word called matter. So here in a chapter, we discuss everything about matter. Clear? So what is this matter? You know what? We are surrounded by many things, isn't it? Say the air we see has got many chemical components in it, right? It has got gases like oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogens, and many other things, right? And human beings itself is a group of chemicals, I can say, right? And the food we eat and whatever we touch, I mean the food we touch, see I'm touching this chalk pencil, this chalk piece, this board, say everything that we see around, that we touch around can be called as matter. That means everything under universe is called as matter only. It may be a living thing or it may be a non-living thing. It is commonly in a scientific terms, they are called as matter, right? Say that means matter is anything in the universe that has got some mass and which occupies some space in the universe. Okay, I write the definition of matter here. Say matter is anything in universe which has got or which has mass and occupies some space is called matter. Okay, say for example, I call myself as a matter. It's because I have some mass, isn't it? Here mass in the sense you can consider as weight. Clear? Say if I stand in a weighing machine, definitely it will show some number, right? Say definitely I have some mass. And in this whole lot of universe, this is the space I occupied. Where am I standing? I am standing in a particular space. Where is that space or place present? It is present in the universe. Say I am occupying certain small space of universe. Right? Say for example, this chalk piece, I will call it as a matter because this chalk piece has got some mass. If I keep it on a weighing machine, it will show some digit. So it has got some mass and definitely this chalk piece has occupied this much space. It has occupied some space in the universe. So I can call this chalk piece as a matter, right? So anything, it may be a living thing or non-living thing. If it has got some mass, that is weight, and if it has occupied some space in the universe, then it can be called as a matter. Clear? So that is the exact meaning of matter, right? Okay. So now I'll give you some examples and try to tell me whether they can be called as matter or not. Okay, say what I told you, matter is anything in the universe which has got some mass and occupies some space is called matter, I told. So keep the definition in mind and try to justify whether these things are matter or not. Say we have, for example, chair is there. Okay, I'll start with very basic examples. So chair is there. Can you tell me, is this a matter or not? Yes, chair will have some mass and it has occupied some space in the universe. So definitely chair can be called as a matter, right? And pen, definitely pen also can be called as a matter. And what about air? What about air? Can you call air as a matter or not? You see, guys, imagine you have an empty balloon. Okay, and when empty balloon is there, okay, let me just tell you this way. Say you have a balloon, okay, and this balloon is empty one. This balloon is empty one. Okay. Let me put the empty balloon something like this. Okay, so this is your empty balloon. And when you take a weight of this empty balloon, definitely it will have some weight, right? And it has occupied some space in the universe. It is called as a matter, no doubt. And imagine when you weigh this empty balloon, say for example, you had got its weight as 2 grams. Okay, say you took this empty balloon, you kept it on a weighing machine and you took its weight and it was showing the number 2 grams. That means the weight or the mass of this balloon is 2 grams. Clear? Fine. And now you filled with air. Okay, you have blown the balloon. That means air has filled into a balloon and it has become like this. Okay, and it is a filled balloon. This is filled balloon. And this is filled with what? This is filled with air. Now air is there inside a balloon. Now you keep this balloon on a weighing machine. Do you get its weight more than 2 grams? Definitely yes. Right? Say you would get its weight around 2.5 grams. Isn't it? So now you see the weight of this filled balloon is more than empty balloon. What do you mean by this? Air also has got some weight. Okay, what is the weight of air here? 2.5 minus 2, that is 0.5 grams is the weight of air. Right? Say we can't see this air with our eye, but we can feel it. Even this air has mass and it has occupied some space in the universe. Right? Say the mass of air we cannot feel, but we can come to know that it has got mass by some experiments like this. Isn't it? Empty balloon has got 2 grams. Now you filled the balloon with air and it is giving a mass to 0.5 grams. That means where does that 0.5 extra mass has come from? It is because of air present in a balloon. Right? So definitely I can say even air has got mass, right? So it has got mass and it has occupied some space in the universe. So definitely air is also a matter, right? And what about smoke? What about smoke? Yes, smoke is also a matter, right? Fine. And now let me take this way. Love, hate. Can I call these guys as matter? Love. What is this love? It is just a feeling, right? Hate. It is just a feeling. And one more thing. Thought. Thought. Your thinking ability. Can you call them as a matter? No. Okay. So they are not matter. Okay. So these things are not matter. Clear? So even smell. Smell. Can you say smell as a matter? No, smell is also a feeling, right? Okay, but when you smell it, you can feel that some matter is there around you, right? It is because, say, for example, I have a sweet mango in front of you. Because of the mango, you can feel that smell, right? Say, because of mango, right? Mango is a matter there that is giving that smell, isn't it? So, smell itself is not a matter, but smell is the one that can be felt when you have a matter around you. Because mango is there in front of you, you can feel that smell, right? So smell is due to the presence of matter. But that smell is a sensation our nose feels, right? So smell itself is not a matter, right? So all these are not matters. So you must know which is a matter and which is not a matter. Okay, say how do you decide that something is a matter? Definitely it should satisfy this particular definition. You say matter when anything has mass, and if that is occupying some space in the universe, then only you will call it as a matter, right? So now that you understood what do you mean by matter and how to decide which is a matter and which is not a matter, right? Okay, and now we will talk about the classification of matter. See, matter is anything in the universe. It may be a living or non-living thing. And to study it in a better way, we have to classify this matter, right? So we study classification of matter, and I'm also going to tell you what exactly you're going to study in a chapter. See guys, I suggest you all to copy the points whichever I write on a board. See, maintaining a perfect running notes is very, very important. It is not just reading a textbook and then by-hearting some answers. No. See, when a teacher teaches, whatever she or he writes on a board has to be copied. That is what we call a running notes or reference notes. I think that is the best reference one can have it, right? So I suggest you to have a pen and paper with you, or pen and book, and copy all the points and get maximum benefit, right? Okay. So now I'm talking about very old classification of matter. Okay. So I can call it as ancient classification of matter. Okay. So what do you mean by ancient? That means it is very, very old. Okay, and you know what? Very old Indian philosophers classified matter into 5 elements. Okay, so who classified the matter into 5 elements? It is by our Indian philosophers, right? So these guys have classified, they have classified entire matter. It may be a living or non-living. Okay, so entire matter in the universe have been classified into 5 elements. 5 elements, and they are called with the name Panchatattva. Panchatattva. Okay, Panchatattva. Clear? So what do you mean by this Panchatattva? You know, it means air, earth, sky, water, and fire. Clear? So the entire matter, it may be a living or non-living, has been classified into these 5 elements, and 5 elements together was called with the name Panchatattva. So how do they classify the elements? They classified the element into these categories. Say whatever the matter that comes in the atmosphere, they called it as air. And whichever the things that are staying on a land, on earth, you know, they are one category. That's what we mean by earth, right? And then sky, water, fire. So these are the 5 elements present in the universe, we say. That is what we mean by Panchatattva. But our modern day scientists, so and now I'm talking about modern classification. Modern classification. Okay, so our modern scientists have classified matter based on physical properties and chemical properties. So according to modern scientists, matter classified, it is classified based on physical properties and chemical properties. Okay, so now what do you mean by physical and chemical properties? Physical properties means just the things that you can come to know just by looking, right? Say for example, the moment you look at water, what you can decide? You can decide that water is a liquid, it is flowing, it is colorless, right? So this is what we mean by physical properties. So what do you mean by chemical properties? Its reactions. Say how does say water is made up of two elements like hydrogen, oxygen, and when you combine this water with some other compounds, how does it react? What exactly happening with hydrogen? What exactly happening with oxygen? This chemical reactions of a particular matter is called as chemical properties. And the physical appearance, the way it looks, the way it behaves, the things that you can see with your eyes, the things that you can feel with your eyes, so that judgment about matter comes under physical properties. So what did our modern scientists do? They decided to classify the entire matter in the universe based on physical properties and chemical properties. Okay, and now this chapter includes the study of physical properties of matter. So in this particular chapter, you are going to study everything about physical properties of matter. Okay, see why we are studying about this matter is because matter is made up of very small particles called atoms and molecules. Okay, and there are happening so many chemical reactions naturally and artificially. If you take up a human body, there are hundreds of chemical reactions happening at every second, right? And these chemical reactions are between the chemical components present within our body. Say to understand these chemical reactions, we need to understand some physical properties of matter, right? Say when you understand physical nature of matter, definitely you can understand the chemical nature of matter. So chemical nature of matter will be studied in the next chapters or in the higher level. So in this particular chapter, we are studying about the physical properties, right? So every matter is made up of chemical atoms, chemicals, so-called atoms and molecules. Okay, and when these atoms and molecules combine, new substances can be formed, right? And if you have to understand how they combine, what actually happens with them, if you want to learn that, you should have a basic idea about how does a matter look like, what does it made up of, and how the particles of matter behave, what way they behave. All such things are very important. And these basic things about matter is what you study in a chapter. Okay, and now I'm going to tell you what headings you are actually studying in a chapter. So the first thing you will learn is about the physical nature of matter. You will learn about physical nature of matter. Okay, so you will understand what is matter made up of. If you take a particular matter, what you have in it, how they behave, how they look, how big they are, how small they are, all of that you will learn in this heading. And in this video, I will cover this particular heading. Okay, and the next thing you will study is very important, characteristics. You will study about characteristics of matter. Okay, so what are the different characteristics, how these particles behave, all that you will discuss. And the third thing you will study is about states of matter. The matter is divided into, it can be classified based on physical properties. It can be classified into solids, liquids, and gases. So what do you mean by solids? How they behave? What do you mean by liquids or gases? Their properties. So all basic versions we are going to discuss, right? Okay, and the fourth topic you will discuss is about interconversion of matter. Interconversion of matter, right? Say many a times we will convert solid into liquid, liquids can become gas, and how do they happen? What do you call the process as? right? And how does the temperature affects the conversion, how does the pressure affects the conversion, all that we will discuss. And finally, we study something about evaporation. Okay, so these are the different things you study in a chapter. It's a much simple chapter, I can say. And now in this video, I am going to cover this particular topic. So the chapter will have 5 videos actually. So in the next video, I will finish this. Third video, we will discuss states of matter and so on. Okay, so now let us quickly go for physical nature of matter. Guys, there are two important physical properties of matter. One is matter is made up of small particles. Whatever may be the matter, it is made up of small particles. Okay, say this chalk pen is there. It's made up of so many small particles. Okay, this is not as a single particle. Say you see a single chalk pen, so you say it is made up of single particle. No, if you can break this particular chalk pen into so many small particles. Clear? So like that, whatever matter you take, it may be a salt, sugar, or human being, or it can be a plant or whatever. Everything is made up of many small particles. Okay, so the first point you have to remember is it is made up of small particles. Clear? So to understand this, we will see an experiment. Okay, say here I took a water in a beaker. Say this is a water, I took it in a beaker, and I will add a pinch of salt into it, or you can add a pinch of sugar also. Clear? Okay, see, I'm taking just a very little amount of salt, and I took this much amount of a salt, right? And the moment I add this into water and when I stir it nicely, do you find salt particles in this water? No, right? You would observe every bit of a salt has been dissolved in water. How is it dissolving? What is actually happening with this salt? See, I will put this salt into a water. I'll nicely stir it. Okay, I'm stirring it nicely. I think you can able to see what I'm doing it here, right? See, I have stirred it completely. Okay, and can you able to see any salt particles staying here? You will not observe it. After complete stirring, you will never observe any salt particles staying here. What would have happened for the salt? Actually, guys, the pinch of salt, whatever I added, it would have broken down into smaller and smaller and smaller particles, and everything would have gone into the spaces which are present in water molecules. Clear? Say, I can explain this diagrammatically on the board. Imagine, see, you had this beaker of water. This is water particles. Okay. See, this lines, whichever I'm drawing, no, these are our water particles. So many water particles would be there. And what did I add? I added a spoon of, a very little pinch of salt. Right. Say the moment salt goes, this salt will break down into smaller and smaller pieces, and it would occupy the spaces between the water molecules. Okay, see the round dots which am I drawing, no, between these lines are salt particles. So salt, very little I added. Okay, and that little of salt again broke down into many particles, and it is occupying the spaces of water molecules. So these are our water molecules. These dash lines are called water molecules. Okay, so between these water molecules, this salt particles are taking their position. Okay, and when this occurs, only when this happens, we say the salt has completely dissolved in water. You can see there is no salt left at the bottom. Everything is completely dissolved. Okay, say when something can break into many particles, then only it can dissolve in water like this. It proves that this simple, I cannot just call it as experiment also. This simple act of dissolving salt into water or sugar into water proves that matter is made up of many, many, many particles. Clear? That's it. So this tells that matter is made up of small particles. And now the next question comes to our mind is, how small or how big are these particles? I said a pinch of salt was having millions of particles, I said, because it is breaking down into so many particles, it is going into the water molecules and it is getting dissolved, I said. And now the big question is, how small are these particles or how big are these particles? You can't just imagine these particles which the salt has broken down in water, no? These particles are very, very, very small. It is beyond our imagination. They are very, very, very small particles. Okay, and this also can be proved by one more simple experiment that I'm going to show you now. Okay, see here what I took is the three beakers. This is beaker one, the biggest one you can observe. The previously I added salt to this. Now I removed that and I took fresh water into it. And this is a second beaker again filled with water, and this is our third beaker, okay, filled with water. So now what I will add is, just I will add some colored salt into it. Okay, so in your textbook they have mentioned potassium dichromate or potassium permanganate, which is in purple color, they said. Okay, but see, potassium permanganate is not available here. I took potassium dichromate. You can see it's orange color. Okay, I think you can see, right, the things which are there in a spoon. It is an orange color thing, right? So this orange color stuff I am adding to this beaker of water. See what would happen. I'll mix it nicely. When I mixed it nicely, you will get beautiful orange colored solution, right? So your solution is completely orange in color, isn't it? Fine. And now we know, and it has completely dissolved. It has completely dissolved in water. See, there is no orange crystals settled at the bottom. That means it is completely dissolved. It has dissolved means what? This particular matter, these crystals are made up of millions of particles. So they have occupied the spaces between water molecules, and that's how they have dissolved. Right? Okay. And now I'm trying to prove the particles are very, very, very small. Okay. And you see here, I will add very little of this orange solution into a solution of pure water. You see, very little. Yes, very, very little I added. The dye solution has become orange. Yes, that means, see, I added very little of orange dye. Okay, the entire solution became orange means that little dye itself had got millions and millions of small particles. That's why this much thick orange solution you got. And very little of solution when I added to second beaker, very small. That means you have millions of small particles. Say some small particles are enough to make the entire solution orange. Okay, see, now very few small particles are there in this, right? And now again this solution I will add to the third beaker with pure water. You see? Yes, again the solution has turned a light orange, light orange. That means the small particles which were there in the second beaker has come to this beaker. That's the reason the solution has become orange, slight orange. Right, and if I pour this into another beaker with fresh water, very slight orange color definitely you will get. And this continues. What does this tell you? This proves that the particles are so small Okay, and this millions of particles you have in a beaker, and they are very very small, and when you keep on adding to the beakers, you do get color. That means particles are so small, and that small particles are enough to make the entire solution orange, right? So these are the two experiments, very simple experiments, that can prove that the particles of matter are very very small and the matter is made up of particle. So first thing is proved was what? The matter is made up of particles, that is proved. And another thing is those particles are very 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 small, that is also proved with these experiments. Okay, say you can't imagine how small the particles are, they are beyond your imagination. Okay, so these two are the most important physical properties of matter. Okay, so that's all about the today's session. Hope you people have enjoyed my first session of the chapter. We will meet up in the next session with the topic characteristics of matter. Clear? And do subscribe our channel to learn the concepts in a easiest way and in a detailed way. Thank you so much. Meet you all in the next class.